Hey, good morning. Let's go over today's trade plan. So in the overnight session, the market held above the 2050 high volume node and continued drifting higher, and then we got a upside breakout to a new all-time high on the news from the Bank of China. So at this point, we've already seen a pretty strong move in the overnight session, and there may not be a whole lot left in the day session as far as the upside goes. So the conservative idea is to wait for a pullback and then look for long setups, because buying at these elevated prices, you run the risk of just getting stopped out without the idea really being invalidated. So up here at 68, 69, these are very elevated prices. The market could go higher, but there's really no defined setup that has good reward to risk at this point up here. So it's best to wait for a pretty decent pullback, or just sit out and let the market kind of establish the new range up here. Because on the upside, the 70-72 area, which is essentially the overnight high and a range extreme, could actually cap the upside. But because this is all-time highs and there is no hard resistance, there's no way to really tell. The market could quite easily just continue going higher too. But what we do know is that we are at this point exhausting the range, or definitely getting close to exhausting the range. So the upside is relatively limited, and for that reason, buying up here doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So for today, if we get a decent pullback, then we can certainly consider long setups, because buyers are clearly in control. But we would have to wait for a pullback to some inflection point, and even then, it makes sense to play defense even on those long setups, because if they're going to work, they should provide edge pretty soon and pretty quickly. And if the market just starts chopping around, then you want to get out of that trade and look for the next inflection point. So the first and the closest inflection point is the overnight VPOC at 2065. But because it's purely based on the overnight session, it's not really a main or a major support level. Below that, we have 59.5 to 62.5. This is essentially the main breakout zone from the overnight session, a low volume area. And first test of it can attract buyers, and we can then start balancing in a range at the upper prices. Below that, we have 57.5, which is the start of the upside break, the start of the strong acceleration move that we got on the Bank of China news. And then below that, we have 54, which was the previous all-time high. And then, of course, support at 50 to 52. But at that point, you're reversing the entire day. So we're not really focused on the lower support zones at 50 to 52. Ideally, you want to see the market holding above 57.5, 59.5 to 62.5 in order for this upside breakout to really continue showing strength. So, any pullbacks to those zones, we can consider long setups. But up here, the risk is on the buy side if you're buying these higher prices, because the upside is very undefined. And any stop that you do use on any long setups up here is really just going to be a volatility stop, because there is no clear invalidation point, or even if there is, it's quite low, right? So it's pretty far away. So for today, again, it makes sense to be patient, to wait for a decent pullback, let the market get a little bit exhausted on the downside into support, and then perhaps look for a long setup targeting a move back up towards the highs, or if it goes down to 59.5 to 62.5, perhaps look for a move back up, just even towards the 68, 69 area. But those are really going to be the main ideas. And if the market just continues to balance at the highs, then the only other potential setup could be a balanced breakout to the upside, but the market would have to go sideways for at least an hour or two in order to consider that setup. Otherwise, you wouldn't want to buy that either. So those are our main thoughts. Let's see if the market provides a decent pullback, which can be bought today. Let's see how well the buyers hold it up, and we'll take it from there.